Hey, my name's Katie. Welcome to my channel. So I hadn't posted a video in a while, and I think the last video I posted was in my second trimester. And my third trimester, I was just exhausted and so over being pregnant, and I just really didn't feel like recording or posting any videos. But I am now 5 weeks postpartum, and baby is here, and I'm feeling much better and like posting again. So I thought that I would share our birth story with you guys and kind of tell you what all happened up till this point, and then I will carry on posting content on YouTube again. So this is my husband Asher, and he is going to help me do this video because I have already forgotten a lot of my labor and delivery. I did it completely unmedicated, and it was very extreme and went very fast. So I thought he could be very helpful and also give a different perspective, because I was like in survival mode, and he was actually there and like coherent. So he's going to help tell the birth story. So I do have clips to share throughout the story. I didn't get as much footage as I wanted to, just because things ended up happening a lot faster than I expected. So we didn't get to film nearly as much as I wanted to, but I do have some clips that I will throw in throughout the story. If you haven't gone and watched my other pregnancy updates, I started updating at the beginning of my pregnancy, and I did have a lot of bleeding, and I ended up being diagnosed with subchorionic hematoma, and so that was really stressful. I was put on high risk. I'm also older. I'm 37, so there was some like high risk stuff involved in my pregnancy. In the beginning of it was very stressful, but then the second trimester was pretty uneventful, and then when I hit the third trimester, I was just exhausted, and I was still nauseous, and I was just so over being pregnant. I just had no motivation to really do much of anything. I was kind of in survival mode, and I was a little concerned that that was my life and that I was not going to get better after I gave birth, but I did, and my hormones are back to normal, and I'm starting to feel like completely normal again.
I was concerned about that also. just want to point that out.
Yeah, I wasn't very helpful or anything during my, like, basically my entire pregnancy. I was just a pregnant person, and I tried to live and carry on my normal life, but it didn't work out very well. But
yeah, pregnancy was pretty terrible for the both of us, actually. 0 out of 10 on that.
So anyway, so third trimester was rough, and I was so done being pregnant. But luckily, on 39 weeks and 5 days, hold on, you can get them. Well, baby woke up, so we will go ahead and introduce you to our baby. Scratchy face.
You look so angry.
So at 39 weeks and 5 days, I was laying in bed. We were getting ready to go to sleep. No, it was 39 weeks and 6 days. It was the day before I was due. No, it was 5 days. Hold on. It happened at night right before we went to bed. So I delivered the next day. I'm making this very complicated. I was laying in bed, and my water broke. I wasn't sure that it was my water at first. I thought maybe I peed on myself, because it wasn't like a huge gush. It was just kind of like a little bit. And then anyway, it took me about like 3 or 4 times of like getting up and going to the bathroom to realize that my water did in fact break. So it is about 1 a.m. on November the 30th. My water broke about 10:30 a few hours ago, and I haven't really had very many contractions yet, so we're just gonna kind of hang out and go to the hospital when I start having painful contractions. I have had some contractions And they are different from the Braxton Hicks contractions. They've been more crampy and just, they kind of cramp all the way up to my belly button. But I've only had maybe 10 or so of those since 10:30. So we are an hour from the hospital. So it's difficult to decide when to leave, but not yet, because kind of just waiting. I know I should be sleeping, but I really can't, so I think I'm going to bounce on the yoga ball for a little while, see if I can get things to pick up. Hey Asher, what are you doing? Are you sleeping? So it's now like 2:30 a.m. I'm still not really having any contractions. I am constantly cramping. I kind of just feel like I'm on my period cramping. But we called labor and delivery and they said go ahead and come on in, just because we live so far away and this is my third baby. So we're going to go on in just to be checked out. You know, I don't want to go from 0 to 100 really fast and not make it there. So, yeah, we're just going to head on in and be checked out and probably be admitted is my guess. So we get at the hospital and it's about 3 a.m. and we get in there and they hook me up to the monitors and to test like contractions, and I wasn't really having, I was having some like little contractions, but I had basically for like the whole like 4 weeks before and up to this point, I had been having pretty consistent contractions for like 4 weeks. And then they did the little strip test where they tested to see if my water did break, to test for amniotic fluid, and it came back very positive. When I got there and I was going to the bathroom giving them a urine sample, I lost my mucus plug in my urine sample, and Asher happened to walk into the room at that moment. And
that was a mistake. I was just coming to share that our midwife was on call that night, and so I was real excited. So I ran in there to tell her, and that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
He got to see my mucus plug in the urine sample. I was real excited that I had lost my
So
mucus
was the nurse that came to get the urine sample, by the way.
So yeah, my water had definitely broke. So I had done a birth plan, and on my birth plan I had wanted to have an unmedicated, all natural birth, and so I didn't want any intervention or anything, which kind of makes it complicated when your water breaks before you start having contractions, because they only want you to have your water broke for so long before the baby's born, because it puts you at an increased risk of infection. So the time they kind of do it at the hospital where I gave birth was like 18 hours. They want you to deliver within 18 hours of your water breaking.
Our midwife was really relaxed about it, like, because she knew the rule was 18 hours, and she knew that as slow as the contractions were going, that there was a possible chance that we were not going to have the baby within 18 hours. But she agreed and followed the birth plan that we gave them, because she knew that, you know, Katie didn't want any intervention if possible. And she wasn't, other than, you know, her water breaking, I mean, the baby's heartbeat was fine. There was nothing super to worry about. So, you know, she kind of just let us do, you know, what we had planned.
So from like 3 a.m. until noon or so, we were just kind of hanging out in our room.
Having a contraction.
Having a contraction and leaking amniotic fluid every time I have one.
It's a great day, right?
Yeah, it's real gross. I was walking a lot. I was bouncing on the ball. I was trying to bounce on a ball. The ball they gave me was actually ginormous, and I didn't fit on it.
A smaller ball. The
Yeah.
ball was so big that she like couldn't even reach the floor.
It was very big. I mean, I'm only 5'3", so I mean, I'm kind of short, but not super short. The ball was ginormous though. So I was just walking around, and when I was up walking around, my contractions, I was having regular contractions, but they were not really strong enough to do much. When I got in, I didn't say this, when I got into the hospital, I was like not even 1 centimeter, right? I wasn't even 1 yet. Or I was right around 1.
You weren't even.
And so when they checked me around noon, first of all, I didn't really want any cervical checks, but since my water broke, I decided that I would have a couple just to see if I was progressing and stuff.
They checked you
At 3, okay, so at 3, they checked me and I was 3 centimeters. And so we kind of like made a decision that I was going to take some sort of like pill that would help speed up my contractions, which I can't remember what it's called, but I'll write it down at the bottom of the screen. I'll look it up and I'll put that down there. So we were going to do that at 3. When the midwife did the cervical check, though, she also swept my membranes, and that was enough to, things just kind of hit the fan after that, and all my contractions went crazy, and that's when everything just like, it just happened really fast after that.
She was fine, and then I went downstairs to go get us some lunch from the cafeteria, because she was always hungry, and we did not want her to be hungry, so I ran down there to go get some food, and by the time I got back, it was pretty awful. She did manage to eat, though. I just want to point out, even in pain, she managed to eat. They're like, if you can't eat, then, it's time. No, she can eat anytime.
But the contractions got really intense, really fast, and I was having like, the contractions were lasting like a minute and a half, and I was only getting like a minute and a half break between the contractions, and they were super strong. And we really wanted a low intervention birth, and we were just really left alone in the room. I was really, really happy with the hospital that we ended up giving birth in. They were also super busy that day, so they were probably understaffed, and so they probably were glad we didn't want anybody in the room with us.
They were happy to leave us alone.
Yeah.
They were so busy. Every time I walked outside of the nurses' station, everybody was running mad around the room.
Not very happy.
So how are you feeling?
Kind of miserable. But I'm glad that the contractions are getting worse. That means I'm getting closer to being done.
Okay.
Probably they're like, pain scales probably like getting close to 7 maybe.
Ooh, we're pushing 7 now.
We are. It's definitely a 6.
You're definitely being a beast. You're pulling through. All right. How much longer do you think we have?
I think we probably have a long time, but I hope not. I hope I'm wrong.
Okay, that's a good way to think about it. Okay, let's go with not a very, very long time, because that's miserable to think about.
So after about an hour, I felt a lot of pressure, like in the 2 contractions. I had like 2 awful contractions where I literally felt like I couldn't stand there. Like I wanted to collapse after the contraction, and I needed to like not stand up anymore. I needed to like get on the bed and sit down. And I started to feel a lot of pressure. So our nurse came in and called our midwife, and our midwife came, and I was like 9.5 centimeters.
Can I say that you missed the part?
Yeah.
Yeah, you actually missed the part where you were done and you were like, I need you to get the nurse. I can't do this. And then I knew.
See, I don't remember that.
I knew it was too late. I knew it was already too late. There was no way.
Do you think they're hungry?
Yes, I do.
Okay, hold on. We'll be back. So apparently I forgot, but I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. And the nurse got the midwife, and the midwife came in and checked me, and I was 9.5. And from then on, it was pretty miserable, and it was like another hour and a half of pushing.
Yeah, so just for the record, the nurse actually changed it.
Oh, really?
And she called our doctor.
Oh, I don't remember. See, you're gonna
Like,
have to...
what in the... How do you not remember any of this?
I don't remember this. Okay, so the nurse checked me and I was 9.5. I do remember this.
Yes.
I do remember.
So you finally, I talked you through as many contractions as I could, and you kept being like, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, yes, you can. And finally, we got to the point where I was actually concerned that you were way closer than what you thought, and because you were feeling pressure.
Because it went by so fast. Like I couldn't even imagine. Okay, so at that point, I do remember now. At that point, I wanted to be checked because I thought that if I was only like 5 or 6 centimeters, that I was going to choose to get an epidural. That's where I was at that point. So that's why I wanted to be checked, because I was ready to have an epidural.
Listen, I knew she was way past that
Well,
point.
I thought I might have been, because I knew I was shaking, and I knew like all of those, like what happens when you go through transition.
Also, they were so packed and so busy, there's no way that the doctor, the anesthesiologist, would have gotten there in time to give you an epidural anyway. You would have been waiting an hour or more for an epidural.
No, I also couldn't. You have to sit there for like 10 minutes so they can put the needle in your spine. And my contractions were so intense and so back to back that there's no way that would have happened.
It wasn't possible.
Well, being 9.5 centimeters, I wasn't going to choose to get an epidural anyway. I knew it was too late. But if I still had a long way to go, I needed an epidural. But I did still have kind of a long way to go, because it took me a while to push. I couldn't get comfortable on the bed. I got on the bed because I couldn't stand anymore, because I was so like exhausted, and I needed to rest in between the contractions because they were coming so strong and so fast. And I tried like a bunch of different positions.
The baby's head was actually stuck behind her, like her pubic bone.
When we didn't realize, and nobody realized, that their hand was up in their face also, which is why I couldn't get past like that 9.5, like to push. Like I felt like pushing, and I was kind of pushing, but my body was pushing, but it wasn't like a real push, I guess. So it took like another hour or so for me to finally like deliver. And I ended up delivering on my back, which I didn't think I wanted to do, but it ended up being the best position. And I tore, unfortunately, more than I wanted to. I didn't tear with either of my other kids, but because their hand was in their face, it tore, and that was bad.
Yeah, that was really bad. It was like it was a second, when the midwife had said it was a 2nd degree tear, you know, she's like a couple of stitches, and then I'm looking down there, and she's like, and it although deep wise it was a 2nd degree tear, it looked like lightning going all the way inside. The tear like went way back, and I'm like, well, this is not and it took her actually a long time to stitch that up. And it was it was a lot. She had to, like, whenever the baby was coming out, obviously I looked, I feel like they were a little shocked that I was so just, I wanted to see it. I was really excited for it to come out. Traumatizing, yes. But she actually reached in and pulled the baby's hand out because the baby got stuck at the end also and could not get out because their hand was literally in their face like this. And so she actually had to reach in, push them back and reach in and pull their arm out first. I feel like you forgot all of this.
I am kind of like, it was a lot. And then after they were born, they were born like super healthy, and we did skin to skin and we had the golden hour. It was still, the contractions even after I delivered were still like pretty painful, like delivering the placenta. I was going to like just deliver the placenta like spontaneously, let it come on its own, but like after like probably like 15 minutes of still having contractions, I guess, I told the midwife, I was like, just do what you have to do to get it out, because I was super done. We didn't cut the cord right away. We let it, it was probably like, what, a good 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, the cord had went completely white, and our midwife asked our permission to cut the cord, my permission, even though I, of course, asked her permission, before we cut the cord. Just to make sure that it had been long enough. They, as far as following our birth plan, they followed everything that we said to an absolute T, and they did respect everything that we said from, you know, our golden hour. Although, because Katie had been stitched up and that she needed to go to the bathroom,
Oh yeah.
I actually got part of the golden hour because I was really, I know she was having a hard time, but I was really excited about it. The minute they're like, Dad, you want to do skin to skin with the baby while she tries to go to the bathroom, I was like, my shirt was already off. I was ready. So I got to do a little bit of skin to skin like immediately with the baby also, and then as soon as she got back, I brought the baby back over to her so that, you know, it could latch, which they did immediately. They actually tried to latch to me on the way over, and like all the nurses and stuff were laughing, and they're like, that's not gonna work out for you.
Yeah, so my bladder was really full, and it was not allowing my uterus to contract back down. So, and it could make me bleed more, so I needed to go to the bathroom. I needed to empty my bladder. So I got up and I walked to the bathroom, and I tried to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't. So I didn't want to have a catheter, but they did put a catheter in just long enough to empty my bladder, and then they pulled it right back out, which was also not fun, but you know, it was okay.
I feel like most of it was, I mean, even from my perspective, like, I feel like she was so traumatized that she forgot a lot of it, which I guess this is why women have more than one baby, because I can tell you from my perspective, I can't imagine anyone doing that more than once. I don't know why they would. I don't know why they would do it without drugs. Zero, like, she should, definitely drugs. I would get drugs, you know. But
I'm still on the fence about drugs for if we're not going to do it again. That's my last baby.
Yeah.
But you know, there's pros and cons.
I mean, I guess it's as you know, a husband who is 100% there and like 100%, you know, like I was real stressed out enough to the point where
He was crying.
I was crying, not because I was of the baby being born. I mean, obviously that was very emotional for me, but I was crying because I was so scared something was going to happen to her. Like, I was so scared that I literally had them put a heart monitor back on her just to make sure that she was okay, and like that she wasn't going to like have like a heart attack or something. It was like the most unbelievably traumatizing event that I think I've ever been through, that I'm just never going to forget.
Yeah, I do remember being in labor, and I looked over at him, and he was like crying, and I was like, why are you crying?
I mean, I have to say, she was an absolute boss the whole entire time, and like, she was so strong, and like, I was so proud of her, and like, honestly, up until the very end, when like she was like ready to give birth, was the only time like she was complaining she was in pain. She kept telling the doctors that it's like a 2 or it's like a 3, and I'm like, listen guys, I don't believe her. Like, she's like super strong, and like, you can't like trust what she says pain wise. Like, And you know, when it and I respected like all of that, but like from a traumatizing level for both of us, you know, it was rough. Like it's an experience that was beautiful that I'll never forget, but it was also really traumatizing and really scary. I felt it's hard to like not be able to help her, and there's like she's in like all this pain, and there's like literally nothing that I can do. And you know, I was really excited when our baby was born, and that was beautiful. But even after the baby was born, everything she went through after the baby's born that they don't even tell you about. People pretend like the baby comes out, the baby's there, that's the end of it, and it's not.
We don't talk about the placenta and the stitches, and
even with our baby on her chest, like she still was having contractions, and they still were pulling the placenta out, and then they pulled out these. They gave her like huge numbing needles down there, and then they sewed her all up. It was
people who are
not,
watching this that are about to have a baby. You're scaring them.
Well, you should be. Please get drugs because you need all of the
I
drugs.
don't necessarily agree with the drugs. I'm glad that I got to walk around and I wasn't laying in bed, and I had an epidural in Pitocin with my other two kids, and it was nice to not feel the pain, but I do feel like things went a lot faster and everything because I was able to get up and walk around, and I was able to eat. I couldn't eat with my last kids. I mean, I wasn't supposed to eat, but I did anyway.
They knew. I mean, our midwife and stuff knew. Like, they're like, well, whatever he brings you when we're not in here, we don't really have a say in that. So they knew that she was eating. I mean, it wasn't really going to change.
I felt comfortable eating this time. I wouldn't have eaten if I was like on Pitocin and hooked up to IVs and strapped to bed. Also, the monitor that they put on me was a wireless monitor, and so it was just like stuck to my belly, and it was really cool. So I just wasn't confined. I was able to get up and do whatever I wanted.
Yeah, and luckily the hospital was busy, and they also did do our birth plan as far as the delivery and stuff goes. After we had the baby and we were moved to like the
mother and baby
floor, they were not as. We did have some issues with them not checking the birth plan and them coming in, and they did try to take our baby to the nursery to like give it a bath, which we did not want them to give our baby a bath. They tried to take it honestly, on our birth plan, we didn't ever let our baby out of her side, ever, not one time. I stood over them for absolutely everything. They probably thought I was really annoying.
It was really annoying them coming in the room every couple hours to check on like how often they're eating, how many diapers they're having. That is a benefit of having a home birth for sure, is like not having to stay in the hospital afterwards and just getting to do your own thing. Because this is like my third baby, and like I feel like I knew what I was doing, and they were just coming in there and interrupting, and I wasn't able to sleep, and it just felt very invasive. So that part that was like my least favorite part of the whole experience. The actual birth, I mean, while it was uncomfortable, that went well, but then afterwards it wasn't really like a super fun hospital stay. I just wanted to go home.
Yeah, I feel like I had to constantly like stay on guard and control what they were doing. Like I felt like I was always protecting our baby from whatever stupid thing they wanted to do, like that we, didn't agree with. Which most of the stuff, we didn't really, we didn't let them do a lot. Like they got a vitamin K shot. That was it.
So baby was born on November the 30th, which is one day before their due date, and they were 7 pounds even. They were 6 pounds 15 ounces and some extra, so they rounded to 7 pounds even, and 20 inches long. They are currently 5 weeks, and we haven't really been back to the doctor. We went back to their for their 3-day checkup, but they had gained so much weight that the doctor said we didn't have to come back until their 6-week checkup. So we go back next week, I think. Yeah, next week for their 6-week checkup. And so we tried to weigh them on our home scale, and I think they're like 8.5 pounds. Maybe, was that what it was?
I think they were
9. Okay, well, they've definitely gained weight. They eat all the time. They're very good nursers. They're very aggressive at nursing. They came out ready to nurse, and they're just very healthy and doing great.
I just want to point out, you literally had a natural birth so you could eat food, and are you surprised that they came out ready to just nurse? Like, I mean...
Yeah. No, I'm not surprised.
We're foodies. We're all foodies.
So that is it for this video. We'll also be going on like a lot of adventures and stuff, and my husband and baby are going to be more involved in my futures moving forward, I think. We might do some vlogs and stuff. We just want to take them on lots of fun adventures. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.
You like that? So bath time's gonna be fun. Are you ready for bed now?
Another baby.
Another baby born. But they don't like water. Come here.
It's really cute though. They're gonna be fine. I'm not even worried about it.
It tickles. You're tickling it.